From The National, this is Trending Middle East. I'm Yasmin Al-Taji. It's Thursday, April 10th. Here are today's headlines. Iraq has set the date for its parliamentary elections later this year. The cabinet announced on Wednesday that Election Day will be November 11th. The announcement itself is a key step toward highly anticipated elections amid calls for reform. The National's Sinan Mahmoud reports from Baghdad.
The aftermath of 2021 elections was a total mess. It took like a whole year to form a government because of the infighting between the political parties, mainly among the Shiite parties.
Iraq's last general election was held a year early in October 2021. That was one of the core demands of nationwide pro-reform protests that swept the country in 2019. But the formation of government was delayed 1 year. That's in large part due to the bloc led by Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Sadr.
His push to form a majority government with just his Sunni and Kurdish allies didn't go down well with his Shiite rivals. So after months of deadlock, Mr. al-Sadr just pulled his MPs out of the parliament altogether, saying the system was too corrupt to fix from within.
This will be the sixth general election in Iraq since the 2003 U.S.-led invasion that toppled Saddam Hussein. It'll determine the makeup of Iraq's 329-member Council of Representatives.
There are a few things to watch in the coming weeks and months. First is that whether Mr. al-Sadr is coming back for this round. There is still no word yet from him or from his followers. Also, there are attempts by some major political parties to change the current electoral law to their benefits. This law was changed after 2019 protests to make it easier for independents to get in. But then in March last year, the parliament kind of reversed course. They went back to this older Sant-Ligo system, which is pretty complicated, and it tends to help the bigger and more established parties. Also, there is still a question hanging over seat allocations. Iraq just held a census last year in November, which showed that the population jumped to 45.4 million. But unless there is a new law to reflect that, the number of parliamentary seats will not change. So November 11 is the date, but there is a lot still up in the air.
Iraq's election commission will oversee the vote. Campaigning dates have yet to be announced. The U.S. and Russia are meeting in Istanbul today. But unlike their last talks, these won't be discussing policy. Delegations from the U.S. and Russia will be revisiting talks about the respective embassies. The two countries are hoping to rebuild diplomatic ties following U.S. President Donald Trump's shift to more amicable sentiment toward the Kremlin.
Ensuring that the embassies and consulates can work in a normal way is sort of part of rebuilding the diplomatic ties that have been so fraught for such a long time.
The National's Lizzie reports from Istanbul.
In terms of the Turkish role, Turkish officials have said time and time again that, we want to help facilitate, negotiations and discussions around ending the conflict in Ukraine. They have a real incentive for that to happen because of their geography, because of their trade through the Black Sea, and Russia and Ukraine are very close to them. Having said that, their role is fairly limited just to sort of facilitating these discussions taking place between Russians and the US, rather than being a full-blown mediator in the Ukraine-Russia conflict.
U.S. State Department spokeswoman Tammy Bruce said today's talks will be solely focused on embassy operations and not on the overall normalization of bilateral ties. She said this, quote, can only happen once there is peace between Russia and Ukraine.
After the last round of talks in February, Moscow appointed a new ambassador to Washington, Alexander Darchiev, who is going to be leading the Russian delegation this time.
The Trump administration has not yet appointed a new ambassador to Moscow, and Ms. Bruce did not state if a new representative would be assigned as a result. of today's meetings.
The US have said this time that, Ukraine is not on the agenda, but that you can't have overall normalization of Russia-US ties until there is peace between Russia and Ukraine.
Separate negotiations have been taking place in recent weeks for a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. Those talks resulted at the end of March in an initial agreement to ensure safe navigation in the Black Sea and to introduce a ban on attacks against energy facilities in both countries. But European officials have accused Moscow of flip-flopping on the deal and continuing strikes on energy infrastructure. Meanwhile, Russian officials have also accused Ukraine of violating that agreement. The number of millionaires living in Dubai has doubled in the past decade, making it one of the world's fastest-growing wealth hubs. That's according to a new report from New World Wealth for Henley & Partners. The report also shows a shakeup of the traditional order, with millionaires leaving London in their thousands.
It's a case of a tale of two cities when it comes to where the world's wealthy are looking to invest and live.
The National's Tahir reports.
It shows that in the last 10 years, Dubai has seen an increase of 102% in the number of millionaires living there. That has gone up significantly in the last year as well. Dubai now has 81,200 millionaires compared to 72,500 last year. By contrast, London, however, has seen a 12% fall in the number of millionaires over the last 10 years and lost 11,300 last year.
Their departures come in the face of changes to the tax status of non-domiciles, people who live in Britain but whose permanent home for tax purposes is outside the UK. Under the old rules, so-called non-doms were still liable to pay tax on the money that they made in the UK, but could live in the UK without subjecting their overseas income to British tax rates. Now, that's changed.
There's a number of reasons. Researchers, they say that Dubai's favourable tax regime, notably a lack of capital gains tax, is a very important factor, but also other aspects such as healthcare, education. These are all important.
That's all for this morning's headlines. You can get these stories and follow live updates at our site. Yasmin Altaji, The National.